This episode is called 20-something girls versus 30-something women. Mm-hmm. So a friend of Charlotte's has offered up her Hamptons rental for the month of August. Mm-hmm. So Charlotte's like trying to convince the girls to go in on the house. She was really trying to had to sell this to them. I was like, y'all don't want to go to the Hamptons?
Why?
I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
Miranda's like, renting a house in your 30s is so pathetic. I was like, since when? What does that even mean?
What kind of economy was this?
Yeah,
what was happening? To have purchased a home in the Hamptons by then? By your 30s?
Right. That renting one is like so below you.
Yeah, like so. Oh my God, that's so over. In August as well? Like prime time?
I don't know, girl. But yeah, all of them, Samantha, Carrie, and Miranda were all very meh about the idea.
Sharing a house with your girlfriends is fine in your 20s, but I feel like in your 30s, isn't it a tiny bit pathetic, like being the oldest kid at summer camp?
She has a point.
But then Charlotte finally sold them when she was like, look, one of us could be married next year, one of us can have kids. This is our last chance. We have to do it.
You sold us on New Orleans trip that way.
I was just thinking of this. I have it in my notes. We went through this exact pitch with our dear friend who she was married at the time, right?
She was just married. Yeah.
Just married. It was like our last meal at Acme, I remember.
Yep.
She was like, oh my God, girls, this might be our last trip. I might be pregnant next year. Like, who knows? You and I looked at each other like,
girl, shut the fuck up.
I was like, bitch, I might have a boyfriend next year. I'm not going to be here with you either. Like... You did say that. And that happened. And literally, that was our last trip, I think. I think that dead ass was our last trip. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. So crazy. Anyways, Samantha has this obnoxious new assistant who is taking personal calls in front of her, called Samantha old to her face. She quits and then steals Samantha's Rolodex. So
illegal.
Such a mess. Now the ladies hop on the Hamptons jitney.
I've never been on here.
Me neither. This looked like a big ass coach bus. I don't feel like Leah didn't take this big ass bus last summer.
No.
She's on a little Sprinter van almost.
Yeah, it's smaller, but still luxury.
Yeah, more luxury. This was like a fucking Chinatown bus. It was huge. Samantha loved this red linen halter jumpsuit.
Mashing with the suitcase.
With the red bags.
Love.
Now, Charlotte meets Greg, her new little 26-year-old plaything. She met him on the line at the jitney. She is masquerading as a 27-year-old. So
it's fair. That lady looks young.
She does. She gets away with it. So they get to the Hamptons. Greg invites the ladies to a beach party. They head there. It's like a classic college bonfire, people throwing up, spilling drinks,
a lot of free things, a lot of things you don't have to pay for that you should ingest.
Carrie has on the iconic white towel.
Oh yeah, the towel. Yeah,
wrap
I hated
dress.
This one.
I hate it too. Friend, I do have a would you rather. So they're at this gross party, right? Would you rather spend a Friday night at a college bonfire? So kids throwing up everywhere, girls spilling their drinks, white girls being loud in your ears, all that. Or go to a lavish Hamptons party, but all of your exes are there.
Ew. Okay, lavish Hamptons party. You mean people are stuck up to and nasty acting?
Yeah, that kind of vibe, that crowd. No. But it's nice. You get, you drink your champagne. It's nice vibes. But you also see all your exes too.
No, I would rather go to the college party.
Same.
Yeah, even with my exes there or not, I don't like stuffy parties. They just, I don't know. They make me uncomfortable. I feel like everybody there is fake, and I don't like that.
I'm less concerned about the stuffiness. I just don't want to run into my exes because they're just going to ruin my vibe. I'm going to feel anxious and on edge in a way that at the college party, I'll just be free regardless.
Yeah, because you don't know anybody.
You don't know anybody. Everybody's ridiculous and being drunk. Whatever. I can have fun with them. It's fun. Now, at the party, Carrie meets a 20-something fangirl. This young writer who worships her, reads her column, Carrie's her everything. And Carrie gives her contact info. She's looking for a mentor, basically.
Hate it. I hate mentorship and the idea of it. And
You
what it's
do?
become. I hate it.
Oh my God. Okay.
And I've been rejected to be somebody's mentee before, and I understand why now.
Oh, and yeah, it's tough work. We'll talk about it though.
We'll talk about it.
I love mentorship, but anyways, the next morning, Carrie is thinking about the whole 20s and just the thrill of the 20s and the consequences of a free life of endless possibilities and asking herself, should we fear these freshly minted single women as threats or pity them as clueless half-wits? 20-something girls, are they friend or are they foe? Now, back in the city, Carrie goes to this book party. She brings her little fangirl around with her. She's 25, but is writing a memoir.
Yeah, girl, about being a virgin. Girl, it'd be 4 pages long.
Carrie like shames her and is like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like, you never had sex with a man? Oh my God. It was a lot.
Are you seriously telling me that you've never had sex with a man?
It was a lot. Also at the party, Carrie meets a doctor who is also going to be in the Hamptons. They flirt a little bit. He's like, nice, harmless. He seems very persistent about wanting to see her. And Carrie seems very like, whatever, like neither here nor there. Now, back in the Hamptons, the ladies are at the beach. Charlotte's splashing around with Greg. Love these outfits.
Love. Oh my God, these were good ones.
These were so good. So we have Carrie in her board shorts, her little bikini top, and then the pink tinted aviator sunglasses.
Yeah.
I love it.
I know. I need a tinted aviator before the summer starts.
Yeah, a pink one at that. I love that. And then Samantha's like sheer Camino cover up was gorgeous.
Like it cost $1,400 minimum.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was so pretty. Yeah. I loved it. So they're on the beach. The doctor finds Carrie, and she's just really not that into him. She even says it to the girls, but she's like, all right, let me just go with it. He's like a doctor. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And Samantha said, my personal 20-something rule, which is good on paper, bad in bed. I followed that rule throughout my entire 20s. It was terrible.
So yeah, they go on a little beach walk and he's like, oh, I made a dinner reservation. He invites her over. Like he keeps trying and she keeps being like, we'll see. Now back at the house, Samantha's ex-assistant, Nina G, they find out is throwing a Hamptons hoedown using Samantha's whole Rolodex.
Yeah.
And so she's like freaking out, but whatever, they're going to go to the party. Charlotte also gets crabs.
Yikes.
So gross. Ugh. And Samantha or Carrie's little fangirl is still like stalking her.
Oh my God. Everywhere. Crazy. I can't believe she knew where she was staying. That's wild.
That was crazy. And then Miranda sent her up to her bedroom. I'm like, bitch.
Terrible friend.
Let her wait outside.
Yeah. Yeah. Or be like, who's Carrie?
Right. Yeah. Help your friend. Yeah. Jesus. That night, Carrie goes to the doctor's house to hang. They drink wine. She ends up spending the night. They literally sleep next to each other. No sex, no nothing. There's just no chemistry, no sexual chemistry, no vibes at all with this dude.
And I don't think Carrie's over big either.
That too. Yeah, that's really where it's at. So yeah, the next night they head to Nina's hoedown. Samantha's outfit is one of my favorites ever.
Of all time.
All time. The waist beads.
Yep. Yeah.
The blue like sheer sarong that's tied in the front.
Yep. Bikini bottom.
The bikini bottom underneath, so you see everything. And then the white like very flowy crop top.
Yeah. Long sleeved as well. So the proportion is perfect. You can see midriff, you can see leg, and nothing up top. It's just
it's gorgeous.
Perfect styling, I think.
Yeah, really. Charlotte confronts Greg for giving her crabs. He confronts her for being deceptive about her age.
I mean, she was. Isn't she like 35? This is crazy. You pretend you're 27? Girl.
But like, what consequence is this to you, Greg?
Yeah, right.
Like, you gave me literal pubic lice. Like, fuck off. Trying to shame me for my age at the end. Fuck you. Now, Sam runs into Nina G. They give their like phony little PR hellos. And Nina's like losing it. The party's like a disaster.
The party's unraveling,
Unraveling. She's totally overwhelmed. She asks Samantha for help. Samantha takes control. And then Samantha hooks Nina up with Greg with his crabs.
With his coochie lice. Yep.
Now, Carrie's little annoying fangirls like following her around. She kind of blows her off and runs off into the party when she spots Big.
Is it you?
Hey.
Casually there, as casual can be.
Oh, in his linens.
In his linens, his Hamptons linens. As if he's not supposed to be in Paris.
As if you're not 45 at this party.
This party.
It's you and Samantha here, okay?
Yeah.
The two of you in your 40s at this Hamptons hoedown. Can you imagine going to a Hamptons hoedown now, today?
No.
Oh my God. We will for our one friend.
Yeah, yeah.
We're out there with. I would go for her only.
Yes, we out here. We gonna find you somebody. But yeah, Big is just there, casual, and he's canoodling with Natasha. It's our first time we see Natasha. Both looking very Hamptons, rich and chic in their white.
So rested.
And
right? Don't they just look like they slept for 18 hours a day? Like,
yes.
God.
Here comes Carrie looking broke down.
No, she doesn't look broke down.
Her hoedown costume.
She just looks very New York City.
And like she's at a costume party.
Okay.
She's at a hoedown.
That's true. That's
She
true.
is.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is really good. Cowboy Carter inspo, this outfit.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Y'all don't steal my ideas. Keep putting out all my ideas for this damn tour.
No.
God damn, both of them have been Carrie inspo.
Because she keeps dressing in costume.
Costume, that's so true. So Carrie walks right up to him and he claims he just got back from Paris, introduces Natasha. Natasha's like, oh my God, hi Carrie, I've heard so much about you.
Heard so much about you. It's such a typical line.
Ugh. And Big's like, oh yeah, Natasha's parents have a house in East Hampton. We're just here for the weekend.
So you staying with her parents? That's how you know her.
And you know her. You met her parents.
Yeah.
What the fuck what's going on here?
Yeah.
So Carrie is just stunned. She's confused. Yeah. She's thinking he's in France this whole time. He's like casually here in the Hamptons. Natasha walks off at one point and Carrie's like, who is she? He's like, I meant to call you. She's a girl I met in Paris. She works for Ralph Lauren in Europe. The Paris deal fell through. That's why he's back. So he never thought to pick up the phone. Like,
so much hurt there. There's just so much hurt. You went to Paris for assumingly a week, found my replacement, came back, and didn't even fucking bother to call me.
I know. We don't even know how long he was in Paris. He could have been there for a day and been back this whole time.
He could have just met her at the airport lounge. Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's horrible.
Or he could have been there for a month and then the deal fell through. Like, who knows? Yeah.
No idea. So Carrie just asks, how old is she? And he says, I don't know, 26, 27.
But you stay with her parents. You
so
go on a run with her dad every morning. Right. You don't know how old she is? Oh, he's so trifling. Oh, Lord.
The worst. So Carrie runs off. She runs to the beach. Miranda, her bestie, comes and comforts her. And then Carrie ends the episode saying, and then I realized 20-something girls are just fabulous until you see one of them with the man who broke your heart. Poor Carrie. That sucks.
Poor, so sad. Iconic last scene though. Great direction with his fireworks and then both in red.
Yes, that was great. Yeah. All right, let's get into it. So the question is 20-something girls, friend or foe?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends in their 20s?
I have one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One of my yoga teachers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And she's what's
her
26?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's very cool. She's into K-pop. She looks really like Thrift Story. Her playlists are, I would say, some of the best. She plays a lot of oldies, a lot of new shit. And she's just really strong in her individual self, I would say.
Nice.
Yeah.
For someone in their 20s, that's impressive. Yeah. I have a few.
Oh, really?
So 2 of Nate's best friends are dating / engaged to girls in their like mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
So I spent a good amount of time around them. Love both of them. And then when Nate was in Brooklyn, he had a group of girls upstairs.
Right. Yes.
That they all became friends during COVID because they're all trapped in the building together. His 4 and then the girls upstairs. And they're also in their 20s. 2 of them we've gotten like pretty close with. Haven't seen them since I moved to Jersey, but love them down. And I just love watching them on Instagram. Just like they're like my favorite people to watch on IG stories. And then Kelly. Kelly's in her 30s now, but for much of our life, she was in her 20s.
That's true. Yeah.
She was always the youngin' of our group. We were all in our 30s, and you know, she was our little sis in the 20s. But yeah, I love hanging out with like folks in their 20s. I definitely feel my age
so hard, bitch.
I was gonna ask you, how do you feel around them?
Ancient. I feel ancient around Diana. I love her so much, but sometimes she'll ask me, she'll be like, do you know what this means?
Oh my God.
Luckily I do most of the time. Yeah. But oh my God, yeah, I feel definitely old. Yeah. And as confident as she is, as self-assured as she is, her issues, I'm like, this is the issues of a 20-year-old.
Of a 20-year-old. I know. It's so cute. It's like, oh, you have no problems. Like,
no, not even. You do have problems. These problems are very real.
To them at that time. Yes.
At that time. And sometimes they are. Like a lot of the stuff that she's been dealing with, honestly, they are real. Like career stuff that's real, family stuff that's real. Fair. It is real. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel how old I am. I can feel the distance in our age. Like I can feel how much life I've encountered since being their age. And also just like how quickly time has moved since I've that age.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just crazy to think like in my mid 20s, I was in grad school, which feels like yesterday, but also feels like 10 years ago. And just like how quick, that's what I feel the most. I'm like, damn, like when they're talking, I'm like, I remember and feel everything that you're feeling so vividly, but then it reminds me like that was 10 years ago, bitch. Like,
yeah. See, to me, it feels like 10 years ago.
It does feel like 10 years ago to me. I feel
much.
Both. Yeah.
So much. Yeah.
But yeah, time just moves. Separate question. Do you have, just on the topic of like intergenerational friends, do you have older friends?
Oh my gosh, I couldn't hang on to them because they're going through some crazy shit right now. Friends who are older than us are going through, you know what I mean? They're like raising kids that are like older. You know what I mean? Like they're, but I wish I did because my friend who I had when I was 20 something, who was 30 something, changed my life with some of the stuff that she told me. So I wish I had older friends, but they're just going through different spaces in life.
Life is busy. Yeah, I really like the idea. I never even thought about it until I was like really sitting down to do this episode of just like the importance of intergenerational connections. Even not even, they don't have to be your best friends, but just like having community with people who are older, younger, just to kind of, I don't know, just like get different perspective. Really, that's what it is. You just gain perspective when you're around these people. One of my old bosses, shout out to Steph. She
love Steph. Yeah.
Love Steph. Her and her husband are Gen X. Okay. So they're in their like deep 40s. And she was my old boss, but like we're legit friends now. But yeah, they have 2 teenage kids, and I love hanging out with her and her whole family. Particularly as Gen X, there's like a jadedness to them, but also a don't give a fuck to them. And I really appreciate them because they've been through so much life. By their 40s, like, it really puts my world in perspective. Like, there's so much more to go through.
Oh, yeah.
Like, with raising teenagers, you know, their parents have aged. So, like, parents' health issues, their own health issues, their parents' health issues, like, just they've really seen life. So when they speak, I'm like so leaned in. You know, the jadedness or the I don't give a fuck attitude, like you could see and feel how they've earned that. And it's just really cool to be around that kind of perspective. We also have good friends in their 50s. I think they're in their like late 50s. Who have 3 kids, 2 in college, 1 in middle school, I want to say.
Oh, wow.
love hanging out with them just to gain their wisdom. And I think they love hanging out with us for like the similar reason, like gaining our perspective or like a little bit of our youthfulness, I guess. They just like being around our energy. And what I love about the perspective I gain with being with them is they're so secure in themselves. They've raised 2 college kids at this point. You know what I mean? Like they've seen and done everything. And it's so nice to be around people who are that secure and you can like see your future through them. Like all the shit not that they're not going through their own shit. Like everyone's always going through something. But just the shit that we're going through, like just knowing like you definitely get out of it. Cause they always have a story to be like, yes, I remember when I went through this. Like they always can relate because what we're going through is none of it is really novel. Like someone has gone through it. Yeah. So it's so cool to like share our challenges or whatever. And they're like, okay, yeah, when I did, this is what I did. And just really soaking up their wisdom. So highly recommend hanging on to young friends, your older friends, just keeping them in your life just for getting that perspective. Even the young ones, very different from this episode where they're like so threatened. I think it's great to hang out with younger people just to hear the word on the street. like God, that sounds so old saying that.
It does. It sounds like videotape. You know what it's like videotape? You're like, ooh,
the word on the street. What are you youngins saying? Like, But truly, like they are experiencing the world in such a raw way because everything that's happening is impacting them so directly because they have let's see, like in their 20s, you're building your life, right?
Yeah, you're in a pretty vulnerable situation when you're in your 20s.
Very. Yeah. So I'm always leaned in like, what do y'all think about what's going on?
Yeah. Oh, you know? Definitely. And I love to see how the work we've done as millennials, Gen X, boomers, how it's worked on them. Being friends with this young Asian woman who is so self-assured in her body image, in the way she dresses, in like everything, feels so good. It feels like all that like woman empowerment, Me Too shit that we did, like it's working on somebody.
It's working on somebody.
It feels really nice.
That is true. That is what I admire about a lot of Gen Z is their like confidence, their security, and their like individuality. Yeah. And I don't know also if that's a coastal thing because we also are.
It definitely could be. Yeah.
New York, a lot of people in New York, they kind of march to their own beat. They have a confidence to them, a toughness to them. But it does seem to be like Gen Z is that generation of like, speak their mind. They're very sure in their principles and their values. And there's a lot to learn and admire from that, I think. Yeah. Now, Charlotte sold the ladies on getting the house. Yeah. Particularly when she positioned it as, guys, this may be the last time. Yeah. Do you have those same feelings in your 30s? Now we're in our mid 30s where we're about to go into a new chapter. Like, you feel like these are the last times?
No. Okay. I have too many friends with kids who go out and do shit to feel like that. Okay. I have too many friends who do things while being parents, who do things while being married, et cetera, to ever feel like this is the last one we got. That feels absurd to me.
Yeah, I definitely feel that sometimes.
You do? You do?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Aww. I mean, I feel like I felt it most viscerally. Nate and I were, bought a house and we were so focused on that. And, one of my big like bucket list things I've always said to Nate before we get, really get into the baby making, starting a family thing was I want to go back to Australia. I want to bring you particular to Australia. This is such an important place to me.
Such a huge ask to do.
It's a huge task.
Yeah, okay.
Particularly when we were so knee deep in buying a house. Yeah. Planning a trip to the other side of the world is another big ass thing, know. But I felt it when like in my ideal world over the holidays would have been like a great time to go. Just because of the summer, it's summer in Australia at that time. And it's the holidays. It's like we're off from work. When the fuck else are we going to get to take? And for us too, we took time actually this year.
We took mad time this year.
We took like 3 weeks off.
Patreon crew.
Shout out to y'all.
Woo!
We took a legit holiday.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is the time. This is the only time. And I dead ass felt in my spirit, like, if not now, when? Because if we get pregnant, if this, you know, whenever am I going to get 2 weeks to go run off to Australia? I'm not bringing these damn kids. You know how expensive that is? Like, when are we doing this?
Not.
You know?
Oh
so that's
God.
when I really felt it. I was like, God, this is, I'm like looking that in the face, like, this is the last time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's either we go now or we go when we're in our 50s, like when our kids are off, you know?
Yeah.
So that sucks.
Does it?
It does for me.
You think it really? Because first of all, we made a rule: until these kids can say 3-syllable words, y'all ain't going nowhere. Okay, so I ain't
to grandma's house you go,
and grandma's house is the club.
Yeah,
like,
that's a fun place. Yeah,
my niece and nephew love being with my parents, and same with her parents too. But I feel like it's going to be so rewarding to go visit your kid who's studying abroad in Australia. You know, it'll be even better. I don't know. I feel
it's definitely it's definitely a way to go. I envisioned us going now while we're, you know, like this version of Australia. When I'm 50, I feel like it's going to feel I'm going to feel so far away from when I went in my early 20s. This, I still feel a little bit closer to it. You feel
closer to your 20s than I do. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I feel, or just that time of my life. Like, I feel like, you know, I last went to Australia, I was 24. And then if I go again when I'm 54, it's going to feel like a trip from yesteryear. Like, Sydney's going to look completely different. Like, it's just going to feel different. And I wanted to bring Nate there closer to when I went to kind of experience it then. But not saying we can't have a great time in our 50s, whatever. But just in my ideal world, in my head, it just felt different. But anyways, that all aside, I feel like this feeling of in your 30s, I mean, you say you don't relate to this, but for me, like, feeling like this is some of the last bits, or this is, you know, not even really in the 30s. It's being not even attached to 30s. It's being attached to about to head into motherhood, like a different chapter. It does feel so starkly different than in our 20s, where we've talked about this a lot. In your 20s, you and your friends, you're kind of living very similar lives. Like, we're all single, we're all working, we're all like getting our first apartments, we're all like dating. Like, I remember when Roxy, she was our first friend to like get married.
We thought she was a child bride.
Child bride, bitch. Like,
she was full 27.
27.
I had my own apartment. That's my own apartment. And we were like, oh my God, you're getting married? You sure? You like him for real? Like, it was crazy.
But we felt like infants, and no one else was getting married. She was the
Nobody
first.
else was getting married. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a big moment, I thought, for us. And then also when our other friend moved to California, that also for me.
Oh, yeah. I was like, who moved to California? Yeah.
That was like two things where it was like our paths are starting to diverge, like priorities are shifting. And it's usually around, I would say, late 20s that starts, 30s that happens for people. And yeah, you kind of just see your friends less and less, and you really start to feel that I got to hold on to these friendships. Like, I have to be very intentional about holding on. And so you kind of see that with Charlotte. She's like, look, next summer, who the fuck knows, bitch? Like, we need to hang on tight.
That's interesting that you relate to Charlotte in that way, when Charlotte is the one who's running, sprinting to motherhood and marriage.
I know, yeah.
So she's the one to project it. Same way that our friend said at that Acme lunch, like, it might be the last time, because she was sprinting towards motherhood at that time. So it's interesting that you have remixed it into, like, you're convincing yourself. I don't know. I think that's fascinating. And I think why I don't feel differently either is because I had to say goodbye to childhood so many different times in my 20s, in so many different ways, with like grief, with moving into my own apartment, then moving back home, and then humbling myself when I was back home. Like, I just had to deal with a lot at getting fired so many times. Y'all, I got let go so many times in my 20s. I had to look adulthood in the face like, damn, bitch, you don't got a job, like 4 times in my 20s. So I've had to grieve a lot. Maybe that's it. I've had a lot of grief in my 20s.
Yeah, that makes a lot of letting go.
A lot of, yeah. So I don't feel as attached to those years. Like I have to experience them again. I'm so good. I'm so good on them.
You have said that. You feel like your 30s was like, this is the time.
Oh, yeah. Way better. I feel way more confident. That's the kind of stuff that I give to my 20-something-year-old friend, is that some of the issues she deals with, especially with friends, family, etc. I'm like, why do you care? I'm like, what?
Care less.
Girl, you make your own money. You do your own thing. Why do you care? But I remember living with my parents at that time, feeling like you're not an adult, like you're still a child. There's certain things in your 20s that you're trying to evolve from that some people don't let you evolve from. And that's the real work. That's the real problem. That's the real issue of trying to become an adult at that time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like I had more control in a sense in my 20s than in my
that makes a lot of
30s.
Sense. Yeah.
I mean, I feel now at 35, I feel great. I feel very much the most in control I've been, I want to say. But yeah, I had a lot of career stuff like early 30s that like I felt so like out of depth and like I want to get back to my 20s. It was great over there. Like what the fuck is this? Like,
do you feel that way career wise and partner wise? I feel out of control because there's somebody else's life that's going on that I've now melded with my own.
Okay. Mostly it was career wise, but yeah, definitely a part of that is now making decisions not just for myself but with another person in mind. And particularly like I would say early 30s with the nonprofit that I was running, and then became very much involved as well. And then we were running this thing together. It's a little terrible twosome. And that was fun until it was crazy. It was taking over our life. And so, yeah, definitely part of it is in partnership, not even in 30s, but like in partnership, now having to account for another person's life and like all of your decisions, as free and as selfish as they were in your 20s, now in partnership in your 30s, like it's not that straightforward. You have to like be more intentional, strategic, and like caring with the decisions you make. Yeah. The ladies feel really threatened by women in their 20s.
Yeah.
One part, we'll get into the dating threat of it, but I thought it was interesting with Samantha's kind of storyline. Yeah, professionally in the workplace, feeling very threatened by this younger, fresher, new PR girl. Have you ever experienced that? Or have you rather felt, which you kind of brought up before, this mentorship idea, have you rather felt more of a responsibility to feel like you have to help the younger workplace girl?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I have a lot of experience with this. Wow. I didn't think about this before. I'm so glad you asked this. So when I worked at the promotional products company that I worked at, I was one of the youngest, and that was a thing. That was a thing.
Really?
And I remember my work husband at the time, problematic work husband at the time.
Yeah, I remember.
We used to go out. Oh, I've told the story before, I think. We used to go out for lunch, and I remember somebody saying, oh, he got a new model. And I remember that being like a thing. Yeah, that was like a thing out loud.
Ooh.
Yeah. This was the place with the blind HR person.
Yes. Oh my God. Sorry. I did not mean to laugh like that.
No, it's hilarious. She didn't know the difference between me and the white CEO. No difference between us.
Oh my God.
So nothing was ever reported. Yeah. So there's just madness going on in there. Oh my God. So I kind of felt it there, but there was like problematic ways. But then when I got to my last job, there were 2 girls there, Victoria and Jenny. both in their 20s. I was in my late 20s, feeling like I was 70. Okay, we had just started the podcast. I've been looking for jobs forever. I was working at the restaurant. I was hustling. I was just moving out of New York. I was dying. And I felt so run down and ragged. Like, not necessarily old in age, just like ran down.
Yeah, tired.
And these two young women were some of the most confident, business-minded people that I learned from. I still learn from right now. And they're 4 or 5 years younger than me. And that in itself was a lesson, having to not even necessarily humble myself, but just know that I can just learn so immensely from these young women was such a gift that I'll never stop praising them for. Because at the time they were like 24, 25, and I was 29. Yeah, and I learned a lot from them.
That's great that you like saw the value in that. Because I think it's so easy too. You could have taken another route. Like, I'm tired. It's my 4th job. Like, fuck these people, whatever. What can you tell me? Miss 24-year-old is your only job. You know, you still had an openness of like, all right, this is a new workplace in general, and y'all were here, but they started before you. And so you still were able to see the value in just learning nuggets from them. Yeah, I think that's important. I've never been in a workplace where I felt threatened by anyone younger, really. I've been very blessed. I've mostly worked in like education spaces, like
you haven't
very
worked
nice,
too much problematic foolishness.
not too much like corporate problematic craziness. And I've had like I've had terrible managers, but I've had like supportive, really nice managers, one of which is like I just talked about, one of my good friends. So I could speak more to the feeling less threatened, but more, I know the feeling of feeling this responsibility to want to like mentor and like help a younger employee. I've done a lot of mentorship of young people just through my jobs, working in like college career prep, working a lot with high school students, college students. But I feel like in some work environments that are very competitive, you know, the mentorship, I got to mentor this young people. It's like, oh no, because this, as you said, this freshman might take my job, you know? So I could see not seeing the value in that. But I don't know. I've always kind of looked at, I would say even here at Two Black Girls, One Rose, like we've had younger, you know, we had a social media coordinator, we've had a former editor, younger than us. We're always kind of like passing along knowledge, passing along opportunities, like always trying to avail ourselves for conversation support. And I just feel like I do feel like that's the responsibility of wisdom, is to pass it down to others. Because what is the point of just keeping it for myself? No, I agree. I think the problem that I have with mentorship is that your mentee usually wants to unzip your skin and be you. And that is impossible. And I don't have time for that. And that is what someone told me when I asked her, will you be my mentor? She said, I don't have time for that. You got to do your own work because I don't have time for that. What a gift. She was right. She was right. There's not enough informational interviews and let me pick your brain and do all this for me to purchase a microphone and become a podcaster, or for me to pick up a camera and become a vlogger, or for me to do whatever it is that I wanted to do that was so similar to her. I started working at a different blog, and she gave me an opportunity to model at Macy's, where Natasha came in, was my mom. Oh yeah, I remember this.
And took my photos for me. But instead of being my mentor, she would give me opportunities and say, you got to rise to the occasion. That's way more of a gift than an informational interview, I think.
I think I find problem in like even propositioning someone like, will you be my mentor? Because immediately that person on the other end feels the burden of responsibility. And I think you can mentor someone without being their official mentor. You know what I mean? I feel like I've mentored lots of young people, and I wouldn't say I'm like their official mentor, but just availing yourself for when an opportunity comes my way, I flick it over to you. Or if you do reach out for an informational and I have time, I can carve out 20, 30 minutes to kind of chop it up with you and give you some pointers. Like, but I think cornering someone, which is what I mean, I worked in career counseling with, taught students on like how to like get a mentor or whatever. And like the rules of the trade or the best practices are like, you set up a call and then you ask them. Like, I feel like we got to get out of like teaching kids to do that, because I think it feels like such a big ask, because it is a big ask.
It is. Yeah.
And I do think you can still give wisdom, give help, give mentorship without having to take on the role and responsibility of being someone's like particular mentor. That makes sense. So yeah, I think we're kind of saying similar things.
Yeah, I think so too. It's this thing with Laurel and Carrie. That
wait, who? Oh yes,
yeah,
Carrie and the little fangirl.
That I'm like, this kind of mentorship, like Carrie can't mentor you. She has sex and writes about it. You want to write about not having sex.
Right. I'm not the match for you, girl.
No. Why are you following me around this party asking me if I want a Cosmopolitan? You don't need to be around me. Like, you need to go find your own voice.
Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah, I think I think sometimes, and I don't know if is this the career counselors? Like, who's teaching them this? Like, just walking up to people, just like,
oh my God, definitely.
Do X, Y, Z for me. And it's like, it's really just relationship building. It's networking.
Yep.
It's just seeing someone who you admire and like wanting to build like being intentional and like forming a relationship with them. Not even just professional, like you got to get me a job or you got to get me contacts, you got me references, but just, I see what you're doing. I admire what you're doing. I would love to just have a conversation about what you're doing, like learn about your pathway. Because maybe in that story, there's something I can learn versus this like lecherous energy that this girl,
very lecherous,
this episode is giving.
Yeah.
Which it's really just relationship building, just building a relationship with somebody who can maybe teach you something.
Yeah. And hopefully like give you opportunities in the future. Because they see something in you, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. But that can't even be the express intention. No. I'm here because you are the gateway to some opportunity. You got to be here just because you want to hear something from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really it. I can't promise shit. Now, the ladies also feel threatened when it comes to dating. We see Charlotte kind of like flip this on its head and is like, I'm going to pretend to be younger and date this younger man. What did you think of her like trying to flip this?
Yeah, it was interesting how carefree she was and with what. She was obviously carefree with her coochie. She was carefree with her skin. And seeing like that those are the only signs of youth. Really was interesting as well. I consider Charlotte to be a very well-read, well-educated person. And I feel like speaking to her, you would know that she is older than 27.
She's old. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's so true.
But the only signifiers was how carefree she was with her body specifically.
Yeah, that's really what they boiled it down to.
And I even see this to parallel with last week's episode of White Lotus.
How so?
With the girls going out dancing.
Okay, yeah.
And like fucking the guys and like...
Oh, the whole wild night.
That whole night was them going back to a time where their body was not... Their body, their mind, their souls were not owed to all these people.
Yeah.
And I really resonate with that feeling, with Baby Girl, with the whole plot of Baby Girl, with her one night at that rave, and she was still organizing soccer practice on the way there because she still owes somebody something. It is still her obligation.
Yeah.
And men don't experience that. Men who are going through midlife crisis and get divorced and go date somebody who's 20 years old, see their kid every other weekend and call it a day. Like they don't have the same obligations with their body, mind, and soul. And when women do it, that's why they go so wild. That's why their tits are out in the pool. That's why they fuck the hotel guy, because like it's the only time they got.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting.
That is interesting. That is an area where you can see if there's any envy that you would have for the younger women, is that like full, complete ownership of your time, your body. In a way that you just don't once you start having kids. Yeah. Or even, because Carrie, Miranda, all the rest of them, they don't have any kids. But even once you start having like a real job with consequence, I can't be out here in the Hamptons just fucking whoever. Like that guy might be the next art dealer that I need to see at my gallery in the city. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, that is interesting. That like one point for Charlotte, that was like her signifier of I'm young now. I'm gonna run into the.
I'm careless.
I'm careless. She didn't even put on her SPF.
Yeah,
like talking about that. Oh my god, that's funny. Now we both met our husbands in our late 20s. So we didn't have to battle the dating streets in our 30s and compete essentially with the girls in their 20s, right?
Yeah.
Now, Carrie asks this big question. Should we fear these women as threats, or should we pity them as clueless half-wits? If you were dating now, what do you think, or how do you think like women in our 30s should be thinking or approaching these women in their 20s who are also dating the same guys that they are?
Oh, absolutely pity. As the woman in her 20s dating older guys.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Useless. Waste of time. They were like guys who are of that age, right? Because I was dating guys who were like late 30s, one guy in his 40s. They are doing that because they don't want to mature.
Yeah. The Peter Pan syndrome is like loud and proud.
It's so loud.
Yeah, so go ahead, girl, have him.
Yeah, so go ahead and try, because he's gonna try and ruin your life. If you have even half a brain cell, you're not gonna go for it.
True.
Which is, I'm sure, the same way that like women in their 60s feel about men who date women in their 40s. I'm sure it's a very similar feeling.
Yeah, that's very true. I think he's definitely not my guy. If he's dating you in your 20s, like, have fun, have at him. Good luck. Best wishes.
Spend his money.
Yeah, exactly. Have fun on his dime as much as you can. But yeah, if you have, as you said, even half a brain cell or even half of like desire to like be a young mom or a young bride, or that's where you feel pity for them, because it's like, that's not gonna happen.
Nope.
He's gonna toss you aside probably.
Yes.
More than likely for someone else soon.
Yep.
I do think also, you know, now at 35, thinking back at myself at 25, you know, 27 is when I went to therapy. So like in the therapist chair, like, you know, single, it's like, no one sees me. Like, I'm so desperate for like companionship and like, just like, what is going on? And when I look back at myself, I do have a lot of pity for myself. Like I was kind of clueless, and a huge part, not even just clueless, I was very impatient as well. And I think which is the hardest pill to swallow, because you want things to happen on your time and it's never on the timeline that you want.
Yeah.
Now looking back, like it all makes sense now, like trudging through my 20s single as hell, now being with Nate, and it makes me actually look back at that time and value it so much more than I did at the time. You know, dating incessantly in my 20s, I talk about it all the time in this podcast, how much I learned about myself, how much I learned about my priorities, how much I learned with such confidence the kind of guy I need to compliment me. And I don't take that time for granted. At the time, I was like, fuck this. But now looking back, I'm like, I needed every year of that time. And so when I look back, I'm like, yeah, I was a bit of a clueless half-wit because I just like wanted it so bad. But it makes all the sense now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't feel, I've said this to Crunch before, I couldn't have dated him before Dr. Jackie.
Before you were ready. Yeah.
I was not ready to be with somebody that secure. I wasn't definitely not ready. I was ready to roll them dice and play them games. Horrendous. But that's how I like considered feeling. And that's how I considered love to be this like extreme thing. Yeah. And it's not. It's boring and fantastic.
Yeah. And safe.
And safe.
And very safe. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I just said this to our friend that was here on Friday, which I always feel so when I say it, like, because it's so cliche, like it happens at the right time, like, I hate that. But that, when I think of my story, that is my story to an extent. Like, that is kind of my testimony of, like, I wanted it in a so much faster than what was ready. And if I had met Nate at the time, I wanted him to meet, like, I probably wouldn't have been ready for him.
Yeah.
And so I really feel, I really feel very grateful for each of those years, all of that time. But 2020, what is it? Hindsight's 2020.
Hindsight is absolutely 2020. Yeah,
2020. It's so much rougher when you're in it.
Yes, it also has rose-colored glasses on.
Now, yeah,
the hindsight. Yeah.
Yes, hindsight in general. Now Carrie and this doctor. What do you think she's doing with this doctor?
I don't know.
He's like
so confusing to me.
I think I kind of understand it. So he's like age appropriate, right? He's a doctor, so of course you're like, I gotta entertain this. Like he's, you have to, you gotta, right? He's nice. He's like very kind. He seems persistent. Like you're not gonna not give it a try. But it's, you could see very obviously with Carrie, like she's just not attracted to him. Not even physically, just in general, she's like not attracted to this person.
Yeah.
But I think she knows if she were to lean in, there's a big chance he could be her guy, right? He's everything that we're kind of asking for. He's kind, he's gentle, he's established, he's got it together. He's like intentional, planning these dates, making the reservations. Like he's got it all on paper. But she's, as you said earlier, she's very obviously holding out hope for big. She's like, this guy could be the guy, but I don't want him to be the guy.
Yeah.
And if I lean into this, he could very well be the guy. Like I think it would go fine. It would go well. But she's like, I don't know. She keeps saying, I don't know. She didn't have an answer. She doesn't have an answer as to why he's not the guy. She's just like, I don't know. She doesn't want to say out loud because I'm holding out for big.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's so sad.
I know.
That's her whole time up until episode 12, season 6. I think she's holding back from every last one of them people except for Aiden. Probably got the most out of her.
Yeah, for sure.
Just squeezing every drop out of her, but still
we see how we will see how that went.
See how that goes. God damn.
Horrible. Now, Big obviously leaves Carrie for a younger woman. Why is that obvious to us, though?
It is so obvious to me. So obvious. So obvious that she works, too. She works at Ralph Lauren. She's like a high-powered kind of ish, Nepo baby-ish job. Like, it's so obvious to me.
Yeah. It's like, who else? Like, he wasn't going to be there with like a Samantha type of successful woman, badass in her. No, it was obviously going to be this 26, 27-year-old who works in high fashion.
Someone who invites you to her parents' home, but you don't know how old she is.
Right. 26 or 27, I don't know.
God. Like, what if she heard that?
I hate it. He's just the most unserious man.
Yeah, maybe on TV, maybe to like ever be in considered romantic capacity, right?
Yes,
he's like with one of the top. Yeah,
and all we're watching is Carrie trying her darndest to like will this man into acting his age the way that she thinks he should be acting,
or even just her age will do.
Even just her age, right? But she's like, you're in your 40s. Like, and she said it in previous episodes. Aren't you tired of this?
Yeah.
Like, he's not.
He's not.
Let the man live. Like, he is trying to fuck around with these women and live his life and trade in the new one for the next one. And like, but she's just trying to will him because he should want different by this age is what she has in her head. But he's just unserious and he's not going to be serious.
Yeah. And she is so serious that this is her job. Okay. She writes
literally.
about it. Yeah. And he seemed to be so magnetized to her. And so she sees something in that she doesn't want to let go. Which I totally understand.
Yeah. Yeah, because she knows that she has a glimmer about her.
Yeah.
That keeps him coming back.
Yeah.
So she's just like hoping one day it's going to really just like snap him out of this like foolery.
Yeah. This phase.
See the glimmer.
She thinks of it as a phase. Yeah, it's not.
I know you see me. I know you see my sparkle. Like, come on. Don't you want to tie this down? No, girl, he don't. He does not. God. Oh, Lord. That's all I got. Anything else?
No.
Yeah.
No. I think
what did we learn this episode?
He's a smart guy.
Oh my God. We learned that you shouldn't be afraid of 20-year-old ladies.
Oh, yeah.
No, you should be friends with 20-year-old ladies.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. I think intergenerational friends in general are great. Women in their 20s are fab. I think they're great to have around just to show you how far you've come.
Yeah.
And how much wisdom you've gained actually that you can pass down to them, but also be open to them and what they can teach you. Sound off in the comments, guys. This was a fun episode. Let us know your thoughts. Share all the wisdom, the nuggets you've learned from the women in your 20s.
Oh my God. Yeah, I would love that.
I would love that. We don't know it all. We definitely don't know it all.
Definitely not.
The younger ones, they teach us things a lot. So let us know what they've taught you. Join the Rose Garden on Patreon for Love is Blind, Habibi, Germany, or Brazil season 1. Vote, guys. Let us know. The poll closes on Wednesday. So that we can record and have the episode out by the end of the week. Find us on Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.